Hi guys, Jarrod here, and this is a video I've wanted to make for a little while now. I know I keep saying that over and over in all my new videos, but if you've been paying attention to the site, you'll know that I've been talking a lot about different arcade boards and things like that, and about the whole arcade scene and whatever. Anyways, so today I thought I would introduce you to my arcade systems. Ooh, very excited. So, I already went through all of these. This is my MVS collection. I've got 13 games currently. You'll probably hear my cat, or the COE mascot, as I call him, in the background going crazy, because that's what he does. Anyways, I've got 13 of these. I actually have coming in Knight's Chance. That's a brand new game from Neo Bits. I highly recommend you guys go check it out. It's sort of like it's like a gambling game, but it's like a couple of games in one. I forget if it's 4 or 5. It looks really good. It looks really, really unique. So that I've got coming in a couple weeks, couple months, something like that. It really depends. I did a whole article on the site about that, about like the indie releases that are coming up to look forward to, like Pure Solar HD coming to the Dreamcast, Knight's Chance, Ghost Blade, I think it is coming. That's a shmup coming to the Dreamcast. There's also Nightmare Busters for the Super Nintendo, which was actually technically released last year, but the run is so small that it's taking a while. So for people like me who pre-ordered it, I still don't have my copy. But anyways, so I already did a video on this showing about my consoleized MVS collection, but there is something else. I'm going to be doing this pretty much for the entire thing. I've got, remember this Tomb Raider unboxing from way back when. There was a controller inside for the 360. Well, now I use it to hold some PCBs. Well, a PCB. I got to be careful here because this is not attached. So what is this? Well, let's see if you guys can see it properly. See what it says? You can see me in there. Oh my goodness. That is an MVS. This is an actual MVS system. I say I have to be careful because this is not attached, this shell. You'll see here, if we can go there, see the little feet? There's little PCB feet that you put on each side, and then you would mount that to, well, basically to the arcade cabinet, and then you would just take your game, which is what I'm going to show you guys here. Excuse me. Doing all of this. Kind of crazy. Okay, so you would take your Metal Slug 3, and you would, well, I don't know, the arrow's down, so I guess either the arrow goes up or the arrow goes down, doesn't really matter. And you would just put your game in. Ta-da! And I'm sure it goes the other way. As you can see, I have loads of experience now. Yeah, that's the way it would go. Alright, and there you go. Metal Slug 3. It's in, it's beautiful. Ta-da! And that's it, okay? So this is a real MVS 3. Now, MVS 3. A real console... good Lord! Not doing well here. This is a real Neo Geo MVS. This is what it looks like, but in order to play this on your TV, you need this JAMA connector right here. This is really hard to do because I don't want this to fall. Right here, you'd need to attach that to your Super Gun, and away you go. But these are the things that would be consoleized, like, for example, what would be in the analog interactive consoleized MVS, except it wouldn't be a horizontal loading system. It would have been a vertical loading system, and that's it. But what's nice about these is if I can remove this, dun, dun, dun. If you look inside here, you'll see there's globules of, like all here, you'll notice there's like, whatever it's called, glue. There's a nice battery there. It's things like that you've got to watch out for, because should the battery leak, it can damage and ruin the board. I haven't actually changed this one, but anyways, you've got dip switches on the side. But something that's really interesting is, for example, the BIOS, which I believe is this big chip here. you don't actually, that was, I don't know if you saw it, which would be that. You can easily remove that with just a screwdriver. It just will slide off because it's not soldered onto the board. And then you can just purchase the UniBIOS and boom, there you go. You have a perfectly fine working MVS. So, just going to see if I can do this in half a second to put this back on. If not, I will say to hell with it. There we go. Perfect. All right. I know I'm going to be moving around. So anyways, what I want to do with that, I got that as a bundle, as part of something else. And there was a reason why I wanted that. It's because controversy time. No, I want to compare that to the analog interactive consoleized MVS. I want to see in terms of the output quality. Because I've noticed, for whatever reason, that when I'm recording my Neo Geo video reviews, you probably notice that they're dark. And it's not the cable. I checked the cable, I checked everything else. I've been told that it could potentially be the encoder that Analog Interactive uses on the consoleized MVS. So that's the test. I'm going to test this out with the Super Gun, which I do not have. Very important to mention that. I don't have the Super Gun as of yet. It's still being made. It's being made by James over at JAMA Boards X. Just go on Google and check that out. And he offers some really wild services, which is utterly fantastic. So that is the MVS. And sticking on that sort of theme, my goodness, I can't speak today. Sorry, guys. My little cat here is trying to break into the box. Okay, SNK, after they released the MVS, they tried the Hyper Neo Geo 64. I don't have that, not yet anyway. But that was like a big, huge, colossal failure. We know that, well, you all know, I hope, that Sega released their Naomi board, which was basically the basis of the Dreamcast. And Sammy released a system, which is the next one I'm going to show you. Sammy would be the holding company, well, or game company or whatever, that would eventually purchase Sega, and they became Sammy Sega or Sega Sammy or whatever. But they released an arcade board, which SNK thought would be the follow-up to sort of like the MVS, but even though SNK didn't make it. Anyways, it's called the Atomus Wave, and this is it. It's very rare to find these in such great condition. There's your JAMA connector, which is what you would connect into your Super Gun. What's interesting is you've got VGA here and then an audio out there, which is very, very good. So that reminds me, I wanted to lower that. The volume. Okay, anyways, you'll have all these different connectors and things like that. These all just very easily slide in and out, and you'll know that I already have a game here. This is Demolish Fist. This is a 3D beat 'em up. All right, so see how simple this is, right? You just pull that out, and here's your little game. Now, in relation to this one, it's quite tiny, right? Okay, I've got a couple of these already. I've purchased some of the big ones. What's nice with this is, like, here there's another I/O port. There's a communication port. There's things for additional controllers and stuff. On the side here, that's where you would mount this. See? You would mount this into the arcade cabinet, and away you go. Now, this is a simplified version. It's based on the Naomi architecture, from what my understanding is, but it's much, much, much more simplified. It uses small little cartridges instead of like what the Naomi did, which used a combination, I believe. I don't have a Naomi board, so I'm not entirely sure, but I believe it works similar to the CPS3, where it used carts and it used discs. But again, I'm not a professional here, and that's why I wanted to do these videos. I wanted to show you guys sort of, you know, from my understanding, coming in as an arcade noob, I'm a huge arcade fan. I grew up with the arcades, but in terms of actually owning the hardware, this is brand new to me. So I thought it would be neat for us to sort of go on this journey together as I get more and more arcade boards and the Super Gun, and I'll be soldering different things. I'm going to take videos of all of this to sort of show you, and I'm going to make mistakes along the way. Probably going to ruin a few boards along the way. But that's how you learn. So, anyways, that's the Atomic Wave. I'll give you a very quick look at the games I've got. This is Knights of Valor: The Seven Spirits. I've since discovered, since my last video, that little hologram is only on ones that Sammy either developed or was part of. Now, if you don't know, this is another beat 'em up. The Knights of Valor series is actually part of the IGS PGM arcade board. PGM is the Poly Game Master system, and IGS, I forget what the heck they even stand for. But it was essentially a clone of the MVS that I just showed you before. Okay, so why is that important? Well, it's not important at all, but it's a very good system, believe it or not. And usually clone systems are like, oh yeah, whatever. But there was actually some really good games on there. There was even a Dodonpachi that was released for the PGM. I'm looking at prices for PGMs right now to see, but they're still kind of iffy. There's a couple of bundles I've seen for like $200 that'll include like say 3 or 4 games, but just not the games I want. So we'll see. I'll get to that. There's actually 3 PGM systems. There's the PGM, the PGM2, and the PGM3. Although the cart-based systems are pretty much dead. The PGM3 had 1 game released for it, which was Knights of Valor 3 HD. That's it. And Knights of Valor 3 was released on the PGM2. So I might pick up the PGM2 and the PGM1 with a couple of games in the coming weeks, months, whatever. But I think I'm going to let the PGM3 like die, because there's no real benefit to picking it up if it only has 1 game. And these boards aren't cheap, right? They can range up to like almost $1,000. I didn't pay that for anywhere near that. I paid $60 for the Atomic Wave, and I paid I think it was. You see, my problem is I get a lot of these things in bundles, so it's hard to say. I think I paid $40 for the MVS, and I paid 60 or 80 for this one. And this is really good, guys. Seriously, this is a phenomenal system. Wait till you see what this looks like when I get the Super Gun. You're gonna be really impressed. It has 3D backgrounds and usually 2D sprites. And SNK made a deal with Sammy that they would make 5 exclusive games, and I've got 3 of the 5. So anyway, so let's just wrap this up. So yeah, that's what Knights of Valor is. I forget what part in the series this is, because what they would do is they would release like Knights of Valor, and then Knights of Valor something, which was like a tweaked version of the original, and then so on and so on and so on, and they kept going and going and doing that. So this is pretty cool. This is, I'm not sure if it's the only one that's not on the PGM itself, but it might be, because I think so. I think this is the only one that ever went to another arcade board. But I think this one is actually based off of Knights of Valor 2. But again, I'm not a professional here, so by all means, correct me if I'm horribly mistaken. All right, this is the one that I showed you already. This is Metal Slug 6. This one's all right. I mean, I played this on part of the anthology there. This one's all right. It's not amazing, but it's okay. This is Samurai Spirit 6, or Samurai Showdown 6, whatever you want to call it. I don't think I ever played this one before, so I'm kind of curious. We'll see. See how this is. All right. Oh, something else I didn't mention. What's neat about the Atomic Wave, I think I'm going to do a review of each of these arcade boards and show like snippets of the games while I talk. What's neat with this one is it actually has sort of like the UniBIOS built in, not for codes, not codes, but cheats, but you can actually select the region, which is really cool. So I can, at any point, I can just go in and say like, okay, we want it in English, we want it in Japanese, we want it in Spanish, or what have you. So that's really cool. That's really cool that they thought of doing that and put that right into the system itself. Okay, so Samurai Showdown I showed you guys, and now this is Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. Not many people even know what this is, so it'll be kind of cool to show you guys. And you notice up there what it says, Sega, on a lot of these titles. And again, it's because it's based off of the Atomic Wave, based off the Naomi board. Okay, so this is a Neo mini box, and it's for a game that I wanted the Atomic Wave for, pretty much. Like, there was one game that I really wanted outside of Metal Slug, and that is Dolphin Blue. This game was never released anywhere else except for on the arcades, and it's awesome. It's a run and gun shooter in the vein of Contra and Metal Slug, except that you jump in the water and you're riding on a dolphin, and it's crazy. It's absolute chaos, but it looks gorgeous and it is incredibly fun to play. So this is one that I'm going to be, like, you know, covering in-depthly when the Super Gun arrives, because I'm really, really, really excited for this. And this is what the box looks like. I'm actually seeing if I can pick up a couple more of these for the other carts I have. So that's my current Atomic Wave collection. There weren't many games released for the Atomic Wave, so I think I'm actually doing pretty good, pretty all right. And okay, next arcade board. I know the video is getting longer and longer, but that's because I couldn't speak. Okay, so this small little thing here, give you an idea. Here's the a Neo Geo cart, right? This is kind of pathetically small in comparison to wha-bam! This is X-Men versus Street Fighter. This is a cartridge. That's right. This is a CPS2, or the Capcom Power System, I think is what they called it, 2. Now, this one is connected to the motherboard. If you look on the side there, you see this bottom part that goes all around with a really nasty looking fan that I still have to clean, just came in, and all around here. This is the A board. This is the B board. As long as these two match the region, okay, blue is for North America, green is for Europe, and then there's a couple others. Now, green and blue, from my understanding, are interchangeable, so I can purchase Japanese games. I just need this, and you know what, let's just show you. There's a little clip here on the side. You just pull it off, and then you go in, let's see if I can show you, in here, and you sort of go like that. And you do the same thing, you just, you know, push. And there you go. Okay? So this is the actual cartridge. This is, look at this. Look at this! Alright, so see what it says? USA, Capcom. There's these little stickers here saying, if you touch this, you void the warranty, but I'm going to. I'm going to open this all up, because if you take a really good look there, look how disgusting that is. This has been in an arcade system since 1996, so needless to say, it was disgusting when I got it. I've already taken this one apart, and I'm going to show you guys. Someone tampered with this before. You can see I fully removed these things, but someone had taken them off and then restuck them and whatever. When I went inside here, the battery, the way this works on a motherboard is you'll get these little rings. They're called tracks, okay? And the leads, which is what, let's say you had a battery, right? And there's 2 leads on it. And you put those leads through the tracks, and then you solder on the tracks. Now, if you use a cheap soldering iron, what can happen is, because you don't have control over the heat on the tip of your iron, you can actually burn the tracks, which will just peel off. And that's exactly what I noticed when I went in. Now, I don't know if this was a manufacturing error or if someone actually did this or whatever, but I noticed the battery inside was a little bit loose. And when I desoldered, I was very careful not to touch the board just in case. So I just went down the lead and sucked up the solder, and I noticed the more I was doing it, the looser it was getting. The actual track wasn't attached to the motherboard. So what does that mean? Well, it means that this is probably dead. And that's okay. Years ago, I would have flipped out, but that's perfectly fine today. Now, Street Fighter 2. When Street Fighter 2 was originally released for the CPS system, which would have been Capcom's first, like, sort of system, something like this. They didn't really have cartridges. They were just motherboards that you would put one motherboard on top of the other motherboard, but it was the same core idea. It was like you had a game and you had the base system. And the thing is that what ended up happening was everyone in the world was bootlegging or pirating Street Fighter 2 because there was no form of like protection or encryption or anything like that. So today, if you want to find Street Fighter 2, the arcade, the original arcade board, good luck, because it's so easy to buy a pirated version because they outsold the original by a factor of 6 to 1. That's insane. So anyways, needless to say, Capcom was very eager to move on to a new system. This was the new system. This is, well, you can see it right there. It says it's the CPS2 system. And the first game that launched the CPS2 system was a slightly popular game called Super Street Fighter 2. And it basically, it took decades before it took a while before the encryption was hacked. And here's the way it works. They're inside this. If you open this up, and I will do a video when I get another one of these showing you how to solder it and everything like that. It's really simple to do. It takes like seconds. There's a battery inside this. It's an actual half AA battery, I think it is. Or would it be AAA? No, I think it's a half AA battery. They last for about 5 years. That is basically keeping this board alive. They're known as suicide batteries. It's basically, there's like an encryption, and the battery is constantly giving a little bit of juice to the board even when it's off. Okay, and the idea is that if the board doesn't get that little bit of juice, then it becomes basically fried because it no longer can read the encryption. It's like I say, it's basically fried. That's the least complex version I can say. So what does this mean? It means that every 5 years you have to change out the battery. I did the best I could on this one, but it's extraordinarily hard to do when you don't have that track. One of them is beautiful. It came out perfect. But like I say, on the other one, half the track is missing, so I put like a glob of solder. Now, if this doesn't work when I get my super gun, you don't freak out. You can send the RAM, well, they're like RAMs or SIMs or whatever you want to call them. You can send those out and they can be reflashed. And because the encryption has been hacked, it basically removes the encryption, and then you don't even need a battery anymore ever again. However, for purists, the value of the game will be decreased. But considering this cost me next to nothing, it was $60, and that is next to nothing, it's not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll just send out the RAM, and that's pretty much it. It's not like I don't really care too much. But I want to get another one in order to show you guys there are alternatives. For example, you can get a battery holder, a regular battery holder, like what you'll find in something like the Xbox 360 controller. You know how you have that little pack at the back? Well, you could do something like that on the board itself. Remove the battery, put that little thing in, and then all you have to do is every 5 years you just pop the battery out instead of always having to resolder it constantly. Or, like I said, you can send out the SIMs and just get them reflashed, and there you go. So anyways, that is the CPS2. See, there's your 4 connectors. Is this not the biggest cartridge in the world? I was looking for a Game Boy cartridge. I was going to show you guys, this tiny little thing. And I find it classic because people bitch all the time about these. But come on, look at the difference here. This is staggering. And I got to say, SNK, no matter what people say about SNK, this was awesome. This really was, I think, the best arcade board ever designed, because look how compact this is in relation to everything else I've shown you, with the exception of the Atomiswave. But keep in mind, the Atomiswave wasn't exactly the most popular system. Okay, and by the way, that's how you do it. And then you just snap it down, and that's it. And then there's this little clip here that goes right here. You just slide it in, which you guys won't even see. Ta-da! And that's it. It's in, and that's it. Now, you can get the A board, the bottom board, which is the same for all games, for about $50 usually. So you don't need many. Just buy one is good enough. And then you can pick up the games for, well, a varying amounts. There is one game I'm trying to get. It's the rarest game on the CPS2 system, which is Alien vs. Predator, because it's a beat 'em up and it's actually awesome. And believe it or not, but Capcom never ported it to anything else ever. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for. But for my first CPS2 game, I'm very happy I got X-Men vs. Street Fighter, because it's a game I played a lot in the arcade and I just absolutely love it. Okay, I got one more system to show you. I know this video is way, way long. I doubt any of you guys are going to make it through the whole thing, but c'est la vie. Okay, it's a system that uses a Molex cable. Dun, dun, dun. It's got an ID ribbon cable. It's for data. What could possibly use... It's a system that has a CD bay, and it's got the clamps. I just left this on right now. I cleaned this all up as best I could. This is what you would mount to the cabinet. And then I don't want you guys to see this, so I'm going to put that over there. And if I can get this out. Okay. This is where you would put your Molex and your ID data cable. If I lift the system up like this, you'll notice that there's a slot for a cartridge here, and you've got some weird stuff over here. There's a test button on the board there, and over there is your volume key. If I flip it around, it looks really bad, but I've cleaned the crap out of it. That's for your audio. There's your JAMA connection. I'm not even sure what that is. I'm not sure. That's probably for, I don't know. That might be, I'm not sure. That might be the kick harness. I'm not entirely sure because I don't have my super gun yet. Haha. The shield was completely corroded. Like I said, I've cleaned all this up. It's all smooth now. I dipped this in an anti-corroding solution. The board itself is fine. This is actually the shell. This is very rare to actually find these today like this. It's perfectly mountable. This was removed from an arcade system and sold to me just like this. Now, the board is fine. It's been touched up a bit. Like I think some of the traces got damaged, so someone just soldered on some wire, okay? But what is this? Well, let me show you. See what it says? This is Capcom's CPS3 system, and the way this works is this is a security card. So you would just lock that in. You'd lock that in like that. You would connect this to the CD and put your game in. There were only 6 games ever released for this system before Capcom moved on and stopped making dedicated hardware. And this was purchased because it was a DarkSoft setup. So what does that mean exactly? Well, DarkSoft is the dude who discovered, or at least he managed to realize that this cart is actually an immortal cart. Now, whoa, what does all this mean? Well, let me put the CPS3 back in its box so we can talk. Okay. Just like the CPS2, this is actually an encryption card. There is a battery inside here, much like the battery inside there. And if this battery dies, this cartridge is useless. And so when you would put that into the system, the CD wouldn't be able to read the encryption, and that's it. Because what would happen under normal circumstances is it would read, it would then take the information from the CD, throw it onto the system. It takes about like 28 minutes to do. That's why there's no loading. And then this would constantly feed it like the encryption data, and away you go. However, for whatever reason, this one is immortal. It doesn't matter. If the battery dies, the encryption is still good. So that was the whole point, right? Now, the workaround was if you would use this cartridge, you could burn CDRs with the real disk image on there, and away you go. You could play the games forever. If you burnt it like that. But the problem was they weren't perfect, right? Because they had to crack stuff and this and that and everything else. So I bought that. I bought it at a discounted price, significantly discounted price, because I knew that I'm not getting the real games. This is the only one, well, these two are the only real security cards, okay? But I was like, that's not right. I'm going to be doing reviews of this. I could always buy the game disc of this for like 20 bucks. But I was like, I want all 6 games. So I contacted, I never remember his name. We call him Mitz. But anyways, from the Neo Geo boards, and he's actually helping out Darksoft. Darksoft's the guy who basically cracked the encryption. He was one who figured out how to go about actually bypassing this entirely. So what these guys have done is they've actually opened this up and put a chip inside, which basically renders all the encryption completely useless. They also, think of it like a UniBIOS almost too, because they put what they called a super BIOS inside, which allows them, which allows us to actually have one disk and just throw the games one at a time onto the system, no longer needing to remove disks and everything like that. And these are the actual 100% perfect arcade games, no bugs, no nothing. But with the CPS3, if I ever want to constantly have to change batteries and whatever, I can just go out and purchase the security cards and the game discs, and away you go. Because that board was designed for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, so it's the most powerful version of the board. See, that's where Capcom started getting smart, and the different SIM slots would be out of place and different and whatever. But anyways, that's just a very quick, a 30-minute overview of the different arcade systems that I've got. I'm going to go much more in depth on each one. I'll probably, I don't know if I'll do like a review of each one, but I'll definitely do an overview of each one much more in depth in the coming days and weeks and what have you. So anyways, guys, that's the first video I'm doing on my arcade systems. I hope you enjoyed. I know it was long and a lot of rambling, but thanks for sticking by, and hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back soon with another video.